Hello everyone! After the news that Bandai Namco has recently invested around $130 million US in a Metaverse-themed game based on the Gundam property, I figured I'd go over some reasons why Digimon could have a similar thing and it would work fairly well, at least in my opinion. So, in fact, we actually have the third Digimon game for the PlayStation 1, which actually has a very similar game within a game called Digimon Online, where the players of the game end up getting stuck in the plot. So this is fairly similar to a Metaverse type game that I would imagine, and in a similar vein, we also had Digimon Next, which was also a VR based game within a game, similar to Digimon Online in Digimon World 2003, and users similarly were also stuck in the game, but in terms with how Digimon World 2003 handled it, they appeared to be like stuck in the game, but maybe their body was still in the human world, and then in the case of Digimon Next, the characters' bodies were actually transported to this VR world when they were transported to the game itself. And of course, more recently, we have another similar case of this in the case of Digimon Stories Cyber Sleuth, which had a similar plot device. However, the online portion, the metaverse as it were, was actually separate from the Digimon, but the digital world and remnants from the digital world, such as Digimon, ended up sort of seeping through into this digital space from their digital world, which was their origin, into this metaverse space. So we have seen this sort of metaverse idea prop up in a few different properties for Digimon. But when I imagine a Digimon VR world, or Digimon Metaverse, or any Digimon online community, I more imagine one that is similar to the world that we saw in Digimon World 3, also known as Digimon World 2003 in the PAL regions. As a kid, when I first played this game, I was absolutely astounded with how immersive this world was, and it actually felt like I was playing an online game. I was instantly hooked on the whole idea, and it worked fairly well, and I always thought, hey, this game feels like Digimon could actually be real. This thing feels like something that could actually happen in the future. The game had the server admins of the game, which acted sort of similar to gym leaders in Pokemon, where you would battle them and get badges. There was, of course, NPCs in the game that were actually meant to be the real people who would each enjoy a different part of the game itself. There were characters who were playing for the social aspect, there were characters who were playing for the card game, there were characters who were playing just so they could get along with Digimon, and there were others that were playing to do the battles. So these NPCs, while they were meant to be based on real people, made it feel very realistic how there were different people playing the game for different reasons that I mentioned above. And of course, you are playing as a child who is just playing because they love Digimon and they want to battle and they like meeting Digimon and going up through those gyms that I mentioned earlier. And of course, they get stuck there and they can't log out. It's just a really great way to go about what I could envision a future Digimon Online game to be like. And when I first played it, as I mentioned, it was something I felt like, wow, in a few decades, this game will be real. We'll actually be able to go to the digital world. And it's actually something I've always liked about the Digimon concept. It never felt entirely impossible. While it's impossible at the current way the technology is, it doesn't seem like it's too impossible for technology a few decades down the track, and maybe even less so at this point. We already have VR technology. Maybe pretty soon it could advance into a way where the world in Digimon World 2003 or Digimon World 3 is entirely possible, and it's an entirely real world that we can dive into and immerse ourselves in. And that's something I've always really liked. Like with Pokemon, you are in the Pokemon world, and they're just monsters that kind of run around. That one seems a little bit more improbable. Not completely impossible. You could potentially, I guess, genetically modify an animal, and animals do exist in this world. But with Digimon, it's always said that there's the human world, which is our world, and then there's the digital world, where Digimon exist. So it always felt kind of possible that it could be something that could be programmed by humans in the far off but not too far off future, and that's something I've always liked. So as soon as I saw this news about the Gundam Metaverse, I thought, wow, this would be fantastic to have something similar to Digimon. And the first thing I thought of, well, yes, we did have it in Cyber Sleuth, and as I mentioned, we also had it in the second Digimon manga, Digimon Next. Feels like to me the best world that we can have as an online metaverse game is Digimon Online from the third Digimon World game on the PlayStation 1. But that's just what I think. You'll have to let me know in the comments what you would envision the metaverse be for Digimon. And of course, if you like the idea of Digimon World 2003 but you haven't actually played it yet, I do have that petition still running for hopefully getting Bandai Namco to have the ports for the older Digimon games ported to current or next-gen consoles. So if you haven't signed that already, it's on change.org, so please sign it if you haven't already. At the time of recording this, we have just over 1,000 signatures. Obviously, a long way to go. The localized Operation Decoded change.org petition ended up having like 68,000, so we've got a long way to go to get noticed. But please sign it and share it if you haven't already, and I appreciate everyone who's already signed that petition. But yes, back to the metaverse. Let me know what you would expect from a Digimon Metaverse in the comments below. Like this video, and of course subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you on the next video. Bye!